Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Gabriel Chaparro. Today we're going to be covering the antennas ranging from 8 to probably about 2 to 3 dBi, and this is going to be for your helium hotspot mining, how to optimize, and really just how to figure out what antenna you should be using. I have a little bit of experience with the antenna work. I'm actually a US Navy veteran. I worked with antennas. I worked with communications, line of sight, and honestly, it just translates exactly into what we're going to be covering. So there's a couple antennas out there. You can get them from Rack Wireless or Rackland. I'm explaining to you how you can optimize your setup, but really people ask, hey, what's the best antenna that I should use? And it's a tricky question because it's not that easy to answer. It really is all up to you. There is no one size fits all. There is situational. So every antenna is situational, and that's what we're going to teach you. And honestly, if you're just getting into helium mining, and if you're looking to get further into helium mining, then everything that I know, everything that I'm going to tell you, this can definitely help you in the long run, especially if you're looking to stay with this, for this to be a long-term project. When the 5G comes out, this knowledge can help you. Let's just jump right into it. You remember in Interstellar where the guy drew two X's on a piece of paper and then he folded it and then he put a pencil through and he said, this is a sphere. Okay, so ideally, if you understand that, then you'll understand these antennas right here. So I drew these elaborations, what the antennas actually do, theoretically. But if you haven't seen Interstellar or you don't understand that reference, that's okay. I'm going to explain it to you. So you're probably going to see a ton of references or a ton of people doing different setups, and you're going to be like, what the heck? Especially if you don't know anything about this and if you're brand new. Let's just start off with this drawing, actually. The black is going to resemble the antenna. The red resemble the radiation, so red for radiation or the signal path. And then the green is going to be for terrain. It could be houses, trees, buildings. If there's something that's constantly in the way, your terrain is going to be specific to you, obviously. It's going to be one of the reasons as to how you pick your antenna. So the 8 to 9 dBi antenna. This is basically like Tom Brady throwing a bullet. But if the line of scrimmage or some guy in the line of scrimmage, he goes ahead and hits the ball, it's easily just knocked out. There's no height to the bullet. It's just a straight shot. Okay, but any obstacle that it hits, it'll immediately be done for, right? It doesn't really have a chance to go over. If you don't watch football, look, long story short, it's kind of like a laser. But if you put something in between the laser, it's like you can't see it. It's not like a big flashlight, it's a laser. Then you have the 5.8. So the 5.8, that's when you start to drop down in distance and you start to expand the angle. Now you're kind of looking like a small flashlight. If you're throwing a football, right, now you're giving it some curve, right, and you're able to go over just a little bit. Then you have the 4, okay? So the 4, this is kind of what I was talking about, the Interstellar reference, where if you fold the piece of paper, you basically make a circle. And ideally, this antenna here is kind of starts to make the circle. Number 2 dBi and below, is where you actually do form almost a whole circle. You have this very circular coverage, but since it's a circle, it is very limited. Your range is not so far. So as you can tell, each antenna, this is dBi, as you lose dBi, or known as gain, as you lose the gain, you lose the distance that you have for your antenna. Now remember, the green is your terrain. So right here, I just made it picture perfect. All of these antennas are above the terrain. And it's important that I annotate this because these antennas are line of sight, right? LOS, line of sight. Basically, if you can see me, I can see you. If you can't see me, I probably can't see you. Does that make sense? The next thing you want to understand about your antennas is going to be omnidirectional. Those are your antennas that you have. Most of the antennas, for example, like this 8 dBi antenna here, this right here, I got it from Rack Wireless. So if when I put this antenna up, it is going to radiate the frequency in every direction. So that makes it omnidirectional. If it's not omnidirectional, that means it's only directional. So let me give you an example of how it works, okay? So I know you understand the directional and omnidirectional, but just to further elaborate on how the signals work, because I can draw it out for you, and these lines, they look picture perfect, but that's not how radiation works. That's not how frequencies work. Let me show you this. You're pointing a laser to the wall, and you're really close to the wall, and then when you spread it out, the laser gets thicker, but it's weaker. That's exactly how it works. I have this flashlight here, and I'm going to show you how radiation or frequencies, same thing with light, travels. This is going to be your antenna, right? This is the 8. When you're close up, okay, when you're close up and then you start to go away, the intensity dies, but it still reaches. But when you come in, it's very narrow. Very narrow. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it works on your antennas. So again, I'm getting a thicker flashlight, right? And this is gonna be your 5.8. Starts off small and then starts to die out as you progress through the land. And that's how it works, right? So now once you have some obstacles, if you're shining your antenna through here, you don't have the capabilities to go over or to go through those obstacles. So now let's go over the 4 and the 2. All right, so again, we're omnidirectional, so remember that. All these antennas are omnidirectional. So 8 dBi, it's kind of like the lighthouse. You see that light piercing through the sky, but technically there's still light traveling in other directions, but the solidness of it is just piercing through the skies. So the 4 dBi, right, this is one of my favorite lights. Okay, this is a little box. That's all of this thing. But this right here is like your 4 dBi antenna. It's omnidirectional. It goes up, it goes down, it goes sideways, but it doesn't go far. Like it doesn't go far. So this is great for overcoming obstacles that are around you. So honestly, this is kind of more of a 2, but the 4 still works a little bit the same way. So again, we can draw this stuff out, but it's not like to the T. It's just how the signals die out depending on your antenna. As we progress more with the helium mining, you're going to understand that you're actually on the EHF frequency. So when you learn about EHF, you learn that there are more things in the ecosystem that affect your antenna. So other things you want to take in consideration are EMI, electromagnetic interference. So if you are next to maybe like a power plant, if you're next to a power plant, you're probably catching a lot of EMI. So you need to consider that. Maybe you need to consult someone or figure out, read more into it on what the capabilities of these antennas are and what you need. But what's going to help you the most is you need to get elevated. All these things are super important, but the last piece is also going to determine what antenna you need. People aren't looking into it, and they really should be. So check this out. Where are the other hotspots in your area? You need to look and plan. So you need to look at the Explorer or on Hotspotty and see where your hotspots are at. Not yours personally, but your neighbors. So let's just assume that they are all close in every scenario. What antenna will put you in a situation where you are making money, right? Where you're communicating and talking to them. It'll probably be somewhere in the 4 and 2 dBi. Again, this is not a perfect drawn out. Now that you understand how signals work, it's not perfectly drawn out. So you might be able to hit it. Okay, go to another scenario. Let's just say that your hotspots are not nearby, but they aren't too far off. Okay, so now you have different scenarios. Your 2 dBi antenna can hit maybe one of them, but the other ones will start being out of range, right? The 4 dBi seems to be hitting all of them. The 5.8 dBi seems to be hitting 2 of them, right? And the 8 and 9 dBi doesn't hit many because you're overshooting them. You can definitely overshoot these little hotspots. That's definitely a thing. And then boom, we're left with the last scenario. So again, we have the hotspots up here, the 8 dBi. Since they're so far, 8 dBi was able to hit them. 5.8 dBi was able to hit them all. 4 and then 1. Okay, so this is how that works. You need to measure out where are the hotspots and then see which ones will get you the most. I'm going to put the link below. They're on the Helium Engineering Rewards PDF. Let's call it something like that. I'll put it in the link. It tells you how all of this works, and it tells you that you need to hit some witnesses. You can't just be hitting 2 to 3 witnesses and expect to make a lot of money. It doesn't matter how many times you talk to that person. Sure, of course it's going to increase, but you need to be providing coverage, not providing spam to one and just one person. You know, you need to be talking to as many people as you can so you can provide coverage. That is what's called proof of coverage. So the last 3 things, okay, it's very, very easy. Cable loss, right? So this actually goes with the second one. All right, so when you order your antenna, you're probably going to get a little cable that comes with it, and that's great. I love that they do that. Now, the problem is that this is not the best cable, and you want to have the best cable. You're going to want to get an LMR 400. Okay, I was talking to this dude, and he was telling me that he has a couple miners, probably like 10 or 15, and he told me that he has the best cable setup for every single miner. It doesn't even matter if he changed that from the stock antenna or not. I'm actually going to be doing an antenna install, like a couple antenna installs, upgrades, And I'm going to be getting into a tree on Saturday. So I'm going to post that video. Watch out for that video coming out soon because it's going to be funny. And if I end up in a hospital, then you know exactly what happened. So these cables right here, they're not the best. And you want to make sure you preserve your signal. You want to make sure that all that hard work that you just learned how to do doesn't get dissipated. I'm not even sure if that's a word. Doesn't get lost in here. All right. Because this right here, if you have a crappy messenger, you need to lose the messenger and you need to get it replaced, because you just learned all this, you put all this work in. Make your effort count. More on this when I show you my screen. Closing out this section here with the best setup. But what does best setup mean? It means you need to pay attention to what is going on around you, so that if you need to upgrade your antenna, you can do so. But upgrade an antenna doesn't mean that you buy an 8 dBi, because again, it's all situational. Just because the 8 has a bigger number and a higher gain doesn't mean it's technically an upgrade. It could be a downgrade for your situation. Don't just half-ass it, really. You need to learn what you're doing so that way you don't get frustrated about the crappy rewards that you're getting. For example, I'm gonna get real down to earth with you. Navy veteran, I just got out in January, right? I'm going crypto full time, and I've actually always wanted to YouTube. YouTube has been my dream for the longest time, and I always put it off. There's a big reason as to why I always put it off, and it's because I couldn't make really good videos. And when I started to do YouTube, it just got really frustrating because it took me so long to do, and I had to learn a bunch of skills. And for these videos to grow, I need to do everything good. I need to make the good thumbnail so that it's catchy. I need to create good content with good editing so that it's catchy. To get a good mic or a decent mic, in the same way that I need to put in effort to get to see any results back. If you buy a $400 miner, you just put in some effort. But if you don't add another maybe 50 to 100 bucks, I'm not saying it's necessary. I'm saying you need to pay attention. If you don't add in a little bit of more effort and maybe 50, 60, 80 bucks to upgrade your situation, you're really not going to reap the rewards for the amount of effort you put in. So if you expect to get rewards for the effort you've put in, make sure that you go all in. So how do you do that? You get the right cable, you get the right location, you get the right antenna. You make sure that you have the obstacles out of your way. You don't put the antenna in an ice cooler. Give it some effort, more than most people would, because once you do that and you commit to it, get the good cables, you're good to go. You can start seeing some return. Lastly is, should you move your antenna? I've had some discussions with people and they say, hey, should we move? Maybe. What if you don't have a location? Okay, you can pay someone 20% of your earnings. And will it be worth it with your new knowledge? Maybe you can have a killer setup, right? Maybe you're near the water. Okay, you know what I'm saying? The line of sight is just there. Hint, hint. If you're near water, dude, you can really do some damage here. Maybe you can have a buddy who's in a high-rise apartment complex. You can pay 20% if you're only making $100 a month on your miner, right? But you make you make $400 a month when you move it and you pay someone 20%. I mean, you're making $200+ more a month. Who cares if it's not at your location? You're earning more now. Okay, and you can do that with Hotspotty. Yeah, I'll put the link down below. Hotspotty, you pay point something HNT. It cost me $3, man. So Hotspotty is definitely a way to go to pay people. That's what I do for a fleet. Or you could just do it manually through crypto.com, whatever. But when you have a fleet of miners, when you have a couple miners and you want to generate an honors report so that you can send it to them and then boom, pay them automatically, Hotspotty, you're good to go right there. So, hey, I hope this really helped out. Don't leave just yet because I'm going to show you my screen. And I know you just learned a ton, but watch out for these rookie mistakes I'm about to show you on my screen so that you don't lose a ton of money. All right, guys, so this is Rack Wireless. This is actually where I got my antennas from. And surprisingly, they actually had a really fast shipping time. I got mine between 4 and 5 business days right after I ordered it. And I was actually thoroughly impressed. So they got sent from China. They stopped at Anchorage in Alaska, and then they got sent through here. So they arrived through FedEx. I told the dude, thank you so much for my fast delivery, and that was it. So I got them in 4 days. I made the mistake of buying my cables from Rokland. Now I heard that they don't charge much for shipping, so that's what that's why I did that, because I actually thought that Rack Wireless was going to take a lot longer to ship my antennas. So this is the homepage right here. As soon as you log in, at the top left hand side you see the Helium button. What is this? Okay, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna save this for later. This is the Helium button here. You click on that and you get basically everything you need for Helium. You get to see that there's solar shields, which I'm gonna get one of these pretty soon. This is important if you're doing an outdoor enclosure. You want to protect your enclosure from the sun, the heat, rain, anything that falls on it, any kind of debris. Honestly, I think a solar shield is actually super important. I'm gonna put those in all of my outdoor enclosures just because I really want to further protect my BOBCAT. Especially since it took 6 months to get here. So let's take a look at the antennas, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this 5.8 dpi. So for 40 bucks, you get this antenna. You can pick black or white. And then guys, make sure that you're picking the correct frequency. If you are in the US, you're gonna be 915. I think this is gonna be Australia. Don't quote me, but just double check on that. I don't live in Australia. But if you go to the Helium homepage, they will tell you where your what frequency you're gonna be using. And then obviously click on the quantity. But it's really important that you look at this, like look at what connections you're going to be using. As you can tell, when you get this antenna, if you click on getting this little setup with the kit, this is going to be that cable I just showed you. And then you got the mounts right here. You're going to put this on the back of your hotspots. But if you buy a different antenna, or maybe you have a different antenna you bought from somewhere else, you got to pay attention to right here. So in my case, I bought from here from Rack Wireless, and then I also went and bought cables from Rokland. So that means I have to really pay attention to what I'm buying because I'm not buying a kit. So in your situation, you might go to the same. If you go over here, you click on the Helium mining, right? You're going to be able to see the lightning arrestor, which is really important for outdoor enclosure. And then you have the antennas. Okay, now notice over here, you start to see RFC 400. That is what I'm talking about. That's probably one of the best cables you can get. If you get a higher number, less loss. Okay, so this is the kind of cables that we use because I worked in communications, and understanding that when you have more length, you're going to have more loss. If I'm talking to you, like right next to you, you can hear me loud and clear. But if you are like 4 houses down and I'm talking at the same voice, I'm not yelling, there's gonna be a lot of loss between here and to you. Same thing works with frequency. Same thing works with these cables. When you have this setup, you need to have a good cable. It doesn't really matter the distance, but more so if you have distance. If you have distance, you're gonna need to get a better cable. Guys, I know that if you're just starting to do this, or you don't really know much about cables, communications, antennas, all this stuff, it can get a little bit overwhelming. But I promise you, this is as far as it gets. So if you're a little overwhelmed, it's okay. It doesn't get much more complicated than this. So like I said, if you're ordering from different spots, pay attention to what your antenna has. This is female, this is male, okay? If you scroll down, you need the opposite, then you probably have what I have. I have the male, and then I need a female cable, okay? So make sure, pay attention to what you got. If you ordered from Rack Wireless and you did the male, then you most likely needed this. So you're going to have to scroll down to the bottom. Guys, if you order the wrong cable, it will not connect, saving you some time and money here because time is money. And so look at the distances. Remember, 400 RFC is going to be the best cable. It's thicker, stronger. And then you go to RFC 195. That means that it's not that bad of a cable. It's not that good of a cable. Notice the price difference, right? $10 versus $22. That's a big jump. That's twice the price for a little cable that's 3 feet long. These cables can get pretty expensive. I mean, you got 75 feet of LMR 400. That's $104. Sheesh. You can minimize the distance. That'd be so great. Something you'll see is an RG58. Again, that's just a cable type. RG58 are just cheap, flimsy cables. And if you have an RG58, be sure you're going to experience some loss. And that extra work to get the elevation, the good antenna that you got, the line of sight, you're going to lose some of that advantage because you're not operating with the best cable. So if you're working with RG58, oof. Standard RG58 cables have about 4 times as much gain loss as this cable. That means that sucks. Also, one thing to point out, this little RP SMA, that is exactly what is on the end of your BOBCAT miner. You always want to double check that, make sure that it's the correct one for your miner. It says if you invested a lot in your antenna, it is worth an extra amount to get a 400 grade low loss cable to maximize your antenna performance. This goes double for Helium mining. A higher loss cable means you may be getting less reach with your miner and therefore mining much less. Moving on, okay, something super important, guys, do not bend your cables. I'm talking about like 90 degrees. Don't do that. Give it like you want to be nice with the curve. The more bend there is, the more loss there is. So if you can keep it straight as possible, keep it straight. So if you're buying from Rack Wireless, they call it a pulsar cable. When I first heard pulsar, I was like, what's a pulsar? I went ahead and went down, and turns out LMR 400. So that's exactly what we need. They have a chart here which is super helpful, especially for beginners to start to understand what kind of loss you'll be looking at. So if you're living in the US, you're going to go to power loss and click on the 915 megahertz. So that's right here. For every 1.5 meters, or just about 5 feet in length, you're going to lose 0.15 dBi. For almost 10 feet, you're losing 0.65 dBi. And it goes on and so on. So if you are going 15 feet, 16 feet, you're losing almost 1 whole dBi. So if you're going 15 feet up, you need 15 feet of cable, and you have a 5.8 dBi antenna, you now have 4.8 dBi, theoretically, right? That doesn't calculate the bends and all this, but this is just more or less, what you're going to be experiencing on the loss. So again, these are things to know. Very important to understand that if you have a really sick setup, but you have like a super long cable, maybe it's just like you need it, or maybe it's excess and you ordered too much of it, or maybe you just have a super crappy cable. All this stuff puts into effect. So I don't want you guys to order something and then like be like, oh my god, but Gabe said that it's gonna work. Okay, remember, everything needs to be optimized, right? If you fail on one part, you're gonna see it. If you slack on one part, you're gonna see it. So these are all good things to know, but this kind of just about sums up every aspect. You got your miner, we got the cable, you got the antenna, you got the height. We talked about location. We talked about how to hit those people. Lastly, I want to talk about this tool that you can use so you can check out your range. So we're looking at the United States of America, and let's just go down to Texas land. Let's just click, I don't know, right here in the middle. This guy, okay, or girl, 10 hotspots in 1 hex. These guys are, for the amount of crowdedness with a 0.1 reward scale, yeah, they're making decent HNT. So again, this is one of those things where, do you need a 50 dBi antenna, or do you need something that, hey, I have a ton of hotspots around me, like there's 42 over here, this can't be real. 0.06 and he still made 30 HNT? Bro, I swear, 6 HNT? Alright, this dude, what is this dude doing? Let's check out this guy's setup. 1.2 dBi, but he's reaching, hold on, there's 19 kilometers. Hey Google, how far is 19 kilometers in miles?
19 kilometers is equivalent to 11.806 miles.
Damn, that was loud. So 11 miles. This dude, so this could be a perfect example. Unfortunately, it says 0 meters. I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. So I think that this is a lot higher off the ground. So as to why these other miners are hitting it from over here, is because it's an 8 dBi antenna. Okay, so if we go back, this could be a pretty good example. I think that this guy is pretty high up, right? And notice how he's not overshooting any of his people. This guy's legit tagging almost all of these people, and he's still able to get antennas that are shooting for higher distance. He skipped a couple of these, but I'm pretty sure these are probably like long range, 8 dBi, 6 dBi, but they have to have some altitude. So that's why they're able to communicate. But again, this is a prime example as to why height matters, and then picking your antenna to optimize in your terrain. So if you got ton of antennas over here, this is great. There's plenty of witnesses right here. All right, so let's look at this guy. This guy's making 10. He's got a 6 dBi antenna. He is 30 feet off the ground. So that's good. That is great. And he's even talking to a freaking ghost right here. What is this, dude? I'm not even gonna ask. So yeah, he's doing pretty good. That's decent. He's got 0.6 reward scale, and he's got $300 in 30 days. Not to mention the network has been down for like half of those days. So $300 in 30 days. So he's got a decent setup. He sees that people aren't like super swarming him, but he's still able to communicate down below because he's got 6 dBi. He's not doing a 9 or 8 dBi. But if he was doing 8 dBi, he would probably be even talking to these people over here. Okay, these people over yonder. So, but again, this is a good setup right here. So, Jolly Latte Crocodile. Okay, this guy is over here. This guy's got 8 dBi and he's 20 meters off the ground. So, this guy is 60. This is like legit almost 5 floors off the ground. In 30 days, he's made $500. Again, with the network being down, like look at this. He made 0 HNT for like 5 days straight with the 8 dBi antenna. He's 20 meters off the ground. He talked to this guy over here in Malaysia, and like he talked to one guy over here in East India. Okay, but notice that he's 20 meters. That's 60 feet. Great Scott, that is really freaking high. All right, now this guy right here, he's got 6 in his hex. He's in the middle of Houston. He's got a 5.8 dBi antenna, and look, he overshot a little bit of his people right here, but he's able to still get like a vast amount of witnesses, and in 30 days he has made $500 with the network being down so much. I mean, come on. All right, guys, so let's do this. Check this out. So if you just type in RF, radio frequency, line of sight, this pops up here for me because I've opened it. If you look at any of these websites, sometimes they'll have calculators that you can use specifically for your area as well. But I think this is pretty much global. You can use this. And the cool thing is you can add your antenna. So let's just put it over here. And I'm going to grab this bad boy, put it over yonder. I'm going to put this antenna right here in De Leon. Then I'm going to put this dude right here in Highland. Alright, that just sounds like it's not going to make it up. Okay, hey, well, that's not too bad, okay? So, what you do here, this is just really, you can just basically pick where your antenna is going to be. So if you have an address, or if you have the coordinates, that helps out. But check this out. So your antenna height, let's just say you get 30 feet off the ground. You are 10 meters off the ground, and then you click on this on the side, hit enter, and it should elevate your antenna. So that didn't do much because we have like a broader range over here. So let's just go like somewhere. Oh, I feel like I'm in the freaking mountains over here. I'm gonna be somewhere here in Sugarland, and then I'm gonna have another one. Let's just say in Missouri City. Okay. So when you pick your location like this, I don't know, mine's all zoomed in a lot, but when you pick your location like that, you can see the elevation, just like natural elevation that you have going on. Go ahead and put in your antenna height, 30 feet off the ground, because I'm on a 2-story house, plus 5 feet, and then boom, you have like a lot better elevation. Again, this doesn't take into effect trees, any of that. This is just like the land elevation. So, you know, you got to take this with a grain of salt, but ideally, this is how you're able to help modify what antennas you were able to have, and maybe even place your hotspot. Like, is it even worth placing here? And this is why you need to have elevation. So let's just say we go out even further. Realistically, I mean, that's not too far. I mean, you're only going to catch like maybe 5 or 6 hotspots like that. So let's just go out even further. Let's try and get some reach like those hotspots we're getting. Now we're looking into something like that. And if you can get your antenna, let's just say almost 40 feet, 20, so we can do 60 feet, and then yeah. So again, if you increase by 30 feet, which is, it could be a lot, it could be hard, but just increasing 30 feet, that's, if you can put it on a tree, you can put it on a flagpole, you can do something, you increase your odds at getting a better result with your miner. So guys, I'm gonna put the link down below. You're gonna get a discount when you order with this. It helps out a lot, especially for me to keep growing and providing more content out to you. So I really appreciate that. So click down below to get that discount. And I really appreciate you guys watching this. If you guys have any questions, any comments, or anything you guys want me to touch on, if you guys have any problems at all, it doesn't really matter how intricate they are. Just put them down in the comments down below, any questions you have, and I'll be sure to answer them, and I'll make videos on anything you guys want. So now, if this video was helpful to you, please hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate it so much, and send this to someone if it can help them out. So again, thank you so much for your time. You guys have a good one. Take care.